I'm going to start a restoration on some knives. This is the first one, not the butter knife. This one. So this is a butcher knife that we recovered from some of my brother's stuff that he had archived away. And this came from my father's parents' restaurant. It is very old, and it's an Ontario knife. On this side, you can see where it says True Edge, made in the USA, Ontario Knife Company. I sprayed it with some awesome cleaner before I thought to capture any of this. You can see the little grooves in it, which would be probably an early form of a scallop. It measures 13 inches long. So this is my slicing knife, and it has scallops, little tiny shallow grooves, perpendicular to the edge of the blade, and it helps food release. So this is used for slicing meat. This is my wife's favorite knife around the kitchen, which also has the scallops. Not really sure how long it's been since this knife has seen the light of day. I suspect minimally 10 years. I suspect it probably hasn't been used in 30 plus years. I think this was at my grandmother's house. I don't remember if she used it or not. She was a bit of an outdoors woman, hunting, fishing, that kind of stuff. And so were all of her siblings and family, so they would have possibly used this after the restaurant closed to work on game. I did have this brown oil on it, again, just old and aged. I sprayed it with some awesome. I'm going to let it sit and then come back and work on cleaning it up. So I'm not going to do a lot to this knife. I cleaned it up, and I'm not going to do much to it because of the history with it. So this was in my grandparents' restaurant, so it's got at least 3 generations of blood, sweat, and tears on it. There is a little, let me get the light right, a little discoloration on the tip on both sides, which I've cleaned and cleaned and cleaned. I'm going to try scraping some of that off. And on the other side, there's a couple of little rough spots. I was going to use a pick on, and if the pick didn't work, I have a cheesy little, it's actually a fingernail polisher tool that came with a toolkit I got off of Amazon a while back. The edge is pretty clean. There aren't any notches or divots, and it's fairly sharp. I mean, it's fairly sharp. I'll run it over the hone, but I want to work on this side. Looks like a little bit of rust. Or in this case, it could even be food. It was fairly oiled up, or fairly heavy with oil when I cleaned it up. And I do not want to polish it. I don't want it to be silver. The patina tells the story, and I want that story. I've been looking for a butcher's knife. This is what this shape is. And I know I've seen this knife 1,000 times, probably at my grandmother's. And then in my parents' house, it's just unfortunate I had to find it in my brother's stuff. So, yeah. A little bit of rust. And now the tip. This doesn't have a lot of horsepower, but I'm going to go after the tip. Woo! That sounds like a fun. Well, that stinks. I mean, it smells bad. All I'm doing is scraping the edge of the blade up a little bit. You can see that there's a little bit of silver there, not a lot. Like I said, I'm not trying to wash away the history. And yes, this is probably not the right tool to do it. I just don't have any of my bench grinders set up properly to do this, which will be a project for another video. The only other thing I'd like to clean up is, let's see if I can get it, I think it's lacquer. From the handle, because I have used a multitude of degreasers on it and none of it came off, so let's see what this does. Besides making a horrible noise and sparks. Oops, Windows. Like I said, this doesn't have a lot of horsepower, which is intentional for my use. I could use a Dremel on this and it would eat it up fairly quick. Again, that is not my intention. I do have a couple of small files, but they are much more severe, heavier grit, for lack of a better term, than this little stone. Like I said, this is used for fingernails. The blade itself is Ontario Knife Company, OKC, and then the handle, oh, I wish I could, it says Old Hickory, and I've seen Old Hickory, like I said, I've probably seen this knife 1,000 times in my lifetime and didn't think anything about it, and in my adulthoodness, Old Hickory, probably in my mind was, you know, an old-timer's knife or junk or whatever. You know, it wasn't a Wusthof or, I mean, even a Hinkle, or wasn't an OKC. But this is made in the U.S. out of real steel, long before I was born. Alright, we're going to leave that. So this is really, really sharp. I'm crap at doing cutting paper tests because I never judge a knife this way. So, yay, it cuts paper. I'm never going to cut paper with a knife. I can run it over the hone, or my steel, whichever you want to call it. Ooh, sounds good. It's not dragging, which is a sure sign of a knife that has been abused or needs sharpening. And this is probably so much better steel than anything I have in the kitchen currently. Well, hey, again it cuts paper. I already have a spot in my butcher's block for this. It feels really good. I keep running my finger over it, looking for high spots or rough spots. That one right there. Did not use any steel wool or sandpaper. Used the equivalent of a green scrubby. And again, I did not want to remove the patina. Now on the end there, that was more discolored than it was more like rust. So I'll clean this up. I'll take it in the kitchen and we'll cut something up with it. Anyway, made in the USA, OKC, butcher's knife from probably the late 40s or early 50s. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.
Too many hobbies, not enough time.
It's a theme song, y'all.